Hey guys, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Steve, Stephanie, and David, thank you guys so much for being here today. I'm waiting for a few more people, and as I let people come in, I'm going to quickly introduce myself. My name's Stephanie. I'm a portfolio sales manager here at TrueDoor in Orange County, and every month we bring different topics of discussions. We bring different guests to kind of show the landlords different strategies on how you guys can pivot in these types of markets, right? And we're just kind of keeping up with trends, keeping up with different topics of discussion. One of them being Airbnbs, specifically short-term rentals. Next month, we'll be talking about midterm rentals. But today I have a very special couple. They're in real estate and they're a power couple. They work in the short-term rental business, Mario and Angela, and they're here today to kind of share their story, right? The purpose of today is for you guys to be more aware of what short-term rental really is, how it operates, what we should consider, right? And you're hearing it from somebody who's doing it themselves, and they're sort of looking at scaling it, right? And that becomes a whole other different beast. But today we want to just, give you guys their story and see if that can maybe help you guys. We do management here at TrueDoor, so our goal is to kind of just bring different strategies to the table, right? And so with today's topic, we're going to focus on Airbnbs. For those of you who follow me like on YouTube and podcasting, know that I specialize in ADUs. And a lot of people are Airbnb-ing those out too and doing short-term, doing midterm. So these topics kind of go hand in hand. On top of that, I do the management, right? So I can manage your ADU, I can manage your property. And so I'm interested and curious to learn more about the short-term rental model because I know how to do everything on the long-term side of things. So I'm sure this is a bit more different, but now I'm gonna hand it off to Mario and Angela. That way they can go through the presentation. I'm gonna let people join as they come in. And if you guys can also type in any questions in the chat as they do their presentation, we're gonna have a Q&A at the end, somewhere, around the 40 minute mark, we'll get to a Q&A. So make sure to answer, or ask any questions on the chat. Thank you guys so much. Welcome, Mario and Angela. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thank you so much for having us, Stephanie. It's such an honor for us. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Yeah, so I met them through a mutual friend of ours his name is Brian. He has an escrow company. He's also a realtor here in Orange County. And they spoke at his office and I was just very curious to kind of hear what they're doing. So if you guys want to go ahead and share your screen, I'm going to mute my mic and let you guys go.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hi everyone. My name is Mario. This is my life partner and business partner, Angela Hernandez. So we are excited to be here, and we just want to share a little bit about our story. Just so you know, we immersed in this, and we're really excited. It's been such a blessing for us to continue to build this business. But by all means, we don't have all the answers. We're growing it, we're building it, and learning as we go, and just love partnering with the we're working with as now and hopefully in the future. But we will share what we know as of now and how we're continuing to also pivot, because there's some certain things that we have to consider, such as we were also looking into midterm rentals as another strategy. Yeah. So let me just open up the presentation here. Stephanie, give me a thumbs up that we could see it, that you guys can see it.
We're good. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, that looks great. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Perfect. So one big topic, the majority of what we're going to talk about right now is Airbnbs, yes, but as the arbitrage concept. And so some of you may have heard of, the arbitrage concept. Some of you may have not. So, this is what we have launched our Airbnb business as, through running it through an arbitrage, which is partnering with landlords to operate Airbnb. So we're in the process of now obtaining and purchasing our own property to run through Airbnb, but there's a lot of differences, pros and cons on both sides, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
Cool. Great. So a little bit about us again. we like Stephanie said, we run our real estate company. We help with the buy, sell, invest. But we're also, our background's in architecture and interior design. That's where we originally started. And but with the pandemic, everything, we invested into real estate, and we saw as Airbnb being such a niche that we really enjoyed, because it's honestly two worlds for us. It's real estate and design coming together and creating experiences. And so we really just love that model. model. And so we really wanted to pursue that and build our business that way. So just a few things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to touch base on the fundamentals of arbitrage, how to get started, looking at deal analysis, cost estimation, finding the deal, addressing concerns, talking a little bit about some of the automations and the tools we use, and just additional other facts and miscellaneous things. And then we'll jump into Q&A. Our goal is to make sure we get through this so we could answer all the questions that we can. And because again, that's where the juicy, all the information's at too. So let's continue. Also, just to show what's our current portfolio, we currently have 4 properties that 3 of them that we're actually that are live now and are we're managing on Airbnb. We have 1 in Long Beach, 2 in the South Bay area, and then our current property that we actually gained last year. We purchased that property up in Big Bear, and it's currently being remodeled. So we're really excited to actually get that one up and running for next year, and we're more than happy to share a little later about that. But these have been the properties that we've obtained and have been doing really well, and very excited to share about our process. So what is rental arbitrage? So honestly, it's a fancy name that they slapped onto it, but it's been existing for quite some time. It's corporate subleasing. The reason why rental Airbnb arbitrage has been a new developed name is because, well, the platforms came out and those are pretty recent. And so that's how they kind of slapped that name onto it. But what it is, again, is renting someone's property with the agreement to sublease it. And then you're utilizing it to market it on platforms such as Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com, etc. You could also develop your own platform, your own booking platform if you like to. But the difference, one thing that's really important about the rental arbitrage is that the difference is the rental rate and the sublease. Whatever the rate is, and then the sublease rate, you walk away with the profit, basically. And I'm more than happy to answer more of those questions that might come up as we get to the Q&A.
Yeah, quick question. Can everybody see the slides? Because I see the first slide. Are you guys still on the first slide?
Oh, are you still?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, snaps. I guess not. Let me export view mode then.
Yeah, we'll just do it in
How about now? Can you see it now?
Yes, now I can see it. Yeah, yes.
Okay, so this is our beautiful faces.
Okay, awesome. There we go.
We talked about. Thanks for bringing that up, Stephanie. Our current portfolio pieces, we have 1 in Long Beach, 2 in South Bay, and this is the Big Bear property that I said that we are rehabbing at the moment. And then we talked a little bit about what rental arbitrage is. Cool. I think that's where we're at.
We're good. Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, pros and cons. Well, pros, a lot of pros. This is a form of investing, utilizing your property to be able to create wealth. And so with that, there's always pros and cons with whether if you go on short-term rental, mid-term rental, or long-term rental. Now with short-term rental, the pros are it is higher cash flow, turnaround rates in regards to whatever the rates are in the season. You're able to adjust your rates on what you're renting it for according to that season, whether if it's a busy season or a slow season. It's easily scalable, little money needed, especially with arbitrage, because you're using, it's not necessarily you're putting a down payment on a larger purchase. You're putting a down payment for the security deposit and the first and second month's rent, and so it's less compared to purchasing a property. It can be very extremely profitable very quickly. Can still build brand equity in the long term, and there's more control, less dealing with the ownership side of owning the property. Now the cons of this is that you don't own the property, so you're not able to tap into the equity that you're building on the property. The landlord is, but not you are. So that's the one thing that's a bit of the cons on that end. It's temporary too, because things could change. There might be ordinances that might happen, or if there's a rent increase and the host can't really afford that. So those are things that you have to consider on the con side. So, and the other thing is, like, just like any other investments, there's risk. So in this case, you're dealing with not just one person. Like in the long-term rental side, you're dealing with someone who's committing for a year. You're probably dealing with more. So those are things that you got to consider doing that.
Yeah. And when we're thinking about the arbitrage, because I know there's a lot of property owners on the call today too, the arbitrage is a great model because you can partner with somebody to essentially become that long-term tenant for you and maintain your property while subleasing it through, Airbnb and things like that. So you may already own the property, and then you can take obviously you have the benefits of property ownership, but you can be confident in knowing that the person that is responsible for that unit itself is maintaining and making sure that the property is in good hands throughout the term of your lease agreement. So there's strong pros to, kind of allowing this arbitrage model, whether you do it yourself with one of your units or you partner with somebody to kind of co-host it with you. There's some great benefits to that.
Now, for the success rate is that we've been able to see is that one thing is to keep in mind is that you can't treat Airbnb as a hobby. You have to treat it as a business. That's the success you're going to be able to gain from it. You have to determine your goals and make a plan. I know there's a lot of noise out there about like Airbnbs, and probably you've heard horror stories, but honestly, it's only a portion. There's so much more to it. And when you have the right systems in place, your success rate grows. You build your team and you take action. So how do you determine whether if short-term rental is the route to go? One way to do it is to look at the market your property's at. So these are just some of the areas that we look into whenever we're about to invest into a property. But keep in mind that I know when you hear the noise of like, oh, it's Airbnb's too saturated. And so demand's always going to outweigh supply. So especially when you find if your property is located in very touristy areas, it's going to do well. So here are some of the categories that we always look into when we are investing or looking into obtaining another property. We look at areas such as the eclectic towns that are nearby. We look at vacation destinations. We also look at metropolitan areas, but a big, really popular one also are the national and state parks. These are places where people come and visit, want to stay, create memories, and create those moments with their families. So if your property are located in these areas, then it's looking at the market, looking at the numbers too, and then making a decision whether if this is the route you want to go to.
So once we kind of figure out, okay, this property or this potential property is in a good area, the demand outweighs the supply of Airbnbs. People are flocking to this region for one reason or several at that point. Now we want to really hone in and analyze the comps. So the first thing we do is we look at the level of design or the level of amenities that the majority of properties are offering on sites like Airbnb. Are they high-end appliances? Are they high-end design, extreme amount of amenities? Do they have pools, AC? What are kind of these features that the high yielding Airbnbs are offering? Because that will determine the level at which our property needs to be in order to be a successful unit in that region. So once we kind of determine that and we say, okay, yeah, we can supply, the level of design, the amenities that really perform and outperform other properties. Now we can do that. So let's look into some of the actual numbers. So there's a ton of numbers that we want to look at, and we can break it all down with you too if you have a property you're interested in. But the three that we really focus on is your occupancy rate on an annual basis, your price per night, and your cleaning fees. So when we look at a property, the occupancy rate is how many nights is the property going to be occupied during the year. That gives us kind of a math analysis of multiplying that by the price per night to determine our potential revenue. The cleaning fee is kind of this little nugget that we can adjust accordingly if it matches where our expenses are. So sometimes you can push the cleaning fee a little bit higher to kind of make up for those lower ended seasons, as long as the area you're looking into has those higher end cleaning fees. Other areas, they are all low end cleaning fees, less than $100 and things like that. So we really want to determine if all of these numbers really work. So let's look at a sample really fast. So if we have a property that performs at an 80% occupancy annually, that would give us about 292 nights that the property would be occupied and, paying that nightly rate. Now that nightly rate, on average would be $250. And this is all samples. So this is just to make our math easy. So say it nightly rate averages at $250. So we multiply that by our occupancy rate of $292, and that gives us a potential revenue of $73,000. annually, which is great. We hear that number, we're like, wow, that's amazing. Sign me up, right? But we really want to make sure that there's two factors when it comes to our expenses. It's our upfront cost expenses and it's our monthly expenses. So when we're analyzing a property just at the front end of it, we want to know kind of what our monthly expenses would round out to be. And we can take that number and subtract it by our potential gross revenue and see where our net profit might fall and see if that determining number is, comfortable for us to move forward. If it's not too high of a risk or too low of a threshold to get profit and break even. So if our estimated expenses is $4,200 a month, you multiply that by 12, that gets you, $5,400. You subtract that by your gross revenue, potential revenue. So we're looking at a potential net profit of about $22,000 annually. So this will help us understand, how long it's going to take us to gain back what our initial investment was and how much revenue on a monthly basis we potentially will be seeing. And that will help us determine that if that threshold is great enough for our risk level, right? Because real estate, as we know, it's all liability. It's all about where your risk tolerance is. So if you're comfortable taking, because this scenario, it's just under, $2,000 a month of net profit a year. So if that's something that you're comfortable with, that gives you enough threshold, X, Y, and Z, then we can move forward. But, say you really want to see like $5,000 a month, then this scenario wouldn't work for you. We would need to kind of readjust and see how we could potentially get that with the property specifically, or we have to look into a different property at that point in time. So this is really good to really determine if it matches your risk levels and things like that. So now looking into kind of the cost estimation, right? Because there's a lot of factors, a lot of money coming into it, but these are in the arbitrage world, why it's a lot lower end of your upfront costs. As the renters for the properties that our landlords partner with us on, these are kind of our upfront costs. So we're looking at first month's rent, we're looking at the security deposit and any furnishings or all furnishings, linens, we're getting all the plate and the tableware, the beds, the mattress protectors, the soap containers, all the things that go into it, the appliances, if the appliances are not provided, and all of those things. So we've come to a better understanding with kind of how much goes into each property depending on size, but this is just kind of our basic scenario. So we have our upfront costs, and then the other factor is our reoccurring monthly costs. So what we consider in that is our rent, our cleaning, our maintenance, and our utilities and subscriptions, making sure that we know what our bottom line is, to know that we will be able to not only bring guests into the property, but maintain it professionally and maintain it very well for our landlord partners, and that all the utilities are paid by us, like your regular long-term tenant, subscriptions are paid, and any maintenance, plumbing or handyman work that needs to be done, we kind of partner with our landlords on that in helping facilitate some of those costs as well. So looking at those numbers, here's our upfront total cost would be just over $14,000, and then $4,200 every month after that. We would want to make sure that the property is bringing in no less than $4,200 a month. So the reason why the arbitrage is a model that is a creative alternative to especially today's market is because you don't have to go through the escrow process. You don't have to make sure your mortgage number is going to match with your analysis on the property. You don't have the high down payment, the closing costs, the tax liabilities. None of that is involved in the arbitrage model. So with the rates the way they are right now, it's a creative alternative to seeing some extra cash flow and kind of building up maybe, a lump sum for a purchase down when the rates kind of come back into a favorable setting for everybody. So that's, a big push to why the arbitrage model works really well. So now how do we fund this, right? There's a lot of different ways you can, use you can take advantage of the interest-free credit card lines to a certain degree. They give like 12 to 15 months interest-free. You can kind of furnish by using that. You can just use cash if you have it, trust funds, or, you know, pulling out on another property you have, pulling out some funds from a different property, or other people's money. You know, a lot of times we partner with people, and our partnership is bringing the systems, tools, setup, and management, and our other partners bring the investment. They bring the cash and the capital in order to, you know, leverage the property and bring in those high yielding returns on a monthly basis. And the ways we kind of go about finding the deals are a number of them. I mean, you know, you want to look for the listings. So the Redfin website, Zillow, Facebook groups, things like this, right? Networking, meeting property owners, meeting other real estate professionals that know of people that are wanting just an alternative solution to some of these renting frustrations that we've been dealing with the last few years. And some common concerns, right? So it all sounds great. You can make money, you know, you get the cash flow, but as the property owner, there are valid concerns that we definitely understand and want to make sure we address with any landlord partner that we move forward with. And here's just to list a few. Things like stability. You know, how do I know that the rent is going to be paid on time? I have long-term tenants in, they pay, you know, every month. It's all good. I don't have to worry about it. It's very stable, right? The wear and tear. There's going to be multiple people coming in throughout the month and month on month and all those things. So, you know, I don't want my property destroyed. And, you know, the headaches or the you know, concerns of how do I know who's staying there, what, you know, I don't get to vet them or all those kinds of things. So we know that those are some very, very common concerns, and all things that we address and would love to talk further through with our landlord partners to make sure it's a win-win for everybody. Because that, you know, when it comes to this arbitrage and running it through Airbnb and bringing management partners in, it has to be a win-win. And so there are certain things that we like to talk about to kind of address those concerns. So things like stability, because the margins are a lot more higher on the Airbnb side of it versus the long-term side. We're, you know, if it makes sense for everybody and it makes sense for the numbers in our analysis, we can negotiate some higher lease terms. Other things we do with damages is we either give a higher security deposit, or like I mentioned on our monthly expenses, we take care of the first $200 to $250 of any kind of maintenance, like if the drains need to get snaked or the lighting goes out, or, you know, we need to update an outlet or anything like that, the AC filters need to get changed out. We're okay kind of taking on that initial maintenance fee for you. One, so you don't have to worry about it. And two, because we want to be able to provide that service for our landlord partners, so they know that we're on top of it when it comes to maintaining their properties.
So other tools we use, so, you know, brings not only peace of mind to the landlord, but also for us as the managers, basically, of managing these properties. We use these tools to help us communicate, vet, and also for security reasons, vet out who's coming in. So some of these tools, again, are like Hospitable. Hospitable is a tool we use. It's a management system, but also messaging system. We use it to communicate with both our cleaning team, our handyman, and then we use it to talk to a lot of our guests. And what we like about this tool is that it also connects to all the other tools that it's very compatible with Price Labs and the Slave security systems that we use. So the way we vet out our guests is, first, Airbnb does their vetting process to make sure it's an authentic person that we'd be talking to. But for us, we always take it seriously, and we always request IDs, so we know who's coming into the property, and we are constantly we're talking with them directly before even accepting them into the property. So we go through our vetting process to make sure that they say who they say they are and what their intentions are at at visiting. And so we just want to make sure that we're providing a safe space for them, but also making sure the property is being taken care of. Other things that we use is price labs. It's a dynamic pricing on how we factor out our pricing depending on the season. And what we really love about price labs versus AirDNA is that price labs is just more conservative and gives you a little bit more options on certain things to consider when you're setting up an Airbnb, such as what amenities you need and what's your competition looking like and what are their rates, giving you based on what basically statistics on what they're receiving on their end with the Airbnbs. We use Slage for all our security doors to make sure we have access. We don't provide keys or anything. We like everything to be controlled where we're able to see the logins, and Slage provides a really good system for that. And then we use Turno for our cleaning management, making sure we're communicating with our cleaners. There are boots on the ground, so we want to make sure that they're keeping us posted on what needs to be restocked, if there's something that's damaged, get that fixed ASAP. And our goal as we manage the properties is to be there at least a minimum of once a week. The goal is always to be there constantly to make sure the property's doing well and there's no surprises. So we do that on our end. However, we want to make sure we always train our cleaners to communicate that with us because it's crucial. There are boots on the ground and so forth. So here are some of the security tools we use. We use rings. We always have cameras set up on the outside, the perimeter of the house. We never have them inside due to privacy reasons, but we always have it outside, and we use that because we want to make sure who's coming in is how they look, because during the vetting process, we always want to make sure we know who we're bringing in, and the cameras obviously, shows who's actually coming into the property. Even though we don't have cameras inside the property, we do have noise monitors just to make sure that guests are honoring our quiet hours, because that's another factor is we care about our neighbors, and we want to make sure that it's also a safe experience for them. So we have that as an alternative to make sure if there is noise during the quiet hours, we want to make sure we're able to communicate with the guests right away and remind them, or just make sure that all is well. And it's just, again, another tool that we use to keep peace and make sure things are secured. And then we have Airbnb support. They're really great at responding every time we need to touch base with them. They're available, but it's, again, another layer that we use for security reasons. Also, with running an Airbnb, you got to keep reminding yourself you can't do it alone. You need your team, your super team. And so in this case, we have our cleaners that we work with, that we partner with to make sure that they're constantly being they know the procedures of cleaning the space, but also we train them to let us know what things to look out for and to always communicate with us what needs to be restocked and what needs to be updated. We have our plumbers whenever we need to address some of the plumbing issues, and then our handyman in case we need certain things to be fixed. An area that we are now hoping to explore and transition is getting an assistant, is because there's times where guests are having questions, or there's things that need to be restocked. Having an assistant is great to basically put in those orders. It's just allowing us to focus on things to help continue to grow the business and provide these, basically leveraging our time and providing these other tasks that an assistant can do, but also partnering with co-hosts, because as we continue to hope to expand and grow our business, we are hoping to invest into out-of-state properties and making sure we connect with people that we could connect outside of state who know the land and stuff, that working with them and also allowing them to partake and partner in creating these really great Airbnb experience for a win-win for everyone. Next, design. Design is important. We don't want to just, provide spaces and they don't look great. People go use Airbnbs because they want a place where it's a lot more comfortable. Most of them travel with families, so they wanted just a space that they could be, it's homey for them. So making sure you provide an excellent space that's welcoming, warm, and also modern and fun. And so things that we look at are like themes. What are things that we can do in the space? What special experiences we're able to provide? So that's a big thing whenever we do an Airbnb. We want to make sure the design, it makes sense, and it's going to create a fun and safe environment for our guests.
Yeah, another big thing about design too is it's the first impression. Honestly, they're searching through thousands of listings in the area that they're looking to travel to, and so to have professional photos taken, to have professional design done in your units will really help capitalize on the Airbnb opportunity, because those photos are the first thing they see. They don't do a walkthrough to make sure that it's something they like the long-term tenant. They really rely on those photos photos and making sure that the photos you provide are representative of the experience they have. That will drive 5-star reviews, that will drive referrals and recommendations to your property, and kind of keep the ball rolling on building up this business as a long-term situation. And so, there's a lot of hesitation when it comes to doing Airbnb because of the liabilities and the number of guests and all of these things that you have to manage as a short-term rental versus the long-term rental. But why we do it is because it works. The systems that we've built, the systems we've trained in and implemented over the last year or so that we've been doing this has really proven to work for us. As of to date this year, we've grossed over $100,000 in our 3 active Airbnbs. Our best month happening over the summer that brought in $25,000 of revenue and $9,000 of cash flow. This is what we're seeing on the arbitrage side. Now, when it comes to property ownership, there's not just the cash flow with your income on a nightly basis. You have so many other opportunities such as depreciation, appreciation, and equity gaining by owning your properties and capitalizing it through the Airbnb model. That's what we're headed towards as our business grows, is understanding more of those elements and how we can really leverage our properties that we actually own to facilitate through Airbnb and different things, because it is a business. So you can do the cost segregation model and implement that into, with your tax accountant and things like that. So there's 1,000 other things when it comes to property ownership, but with just the arbitrage model or using a unit that you already have and facilitating it through Airbnb, these numbers are real and they work, and it provides cash flow into growing your business in other ways, that you wouldn't alternatively have if it was just a long-term tenant in place. So that's why we do it. And we're really excited to continue to grow and see what happens.
With that being said, thank you so much. We're so honored, Stephanie. Thank you for having us. We love to stay connected. We don't bite. So if you guys have more questions, please feel free to contact us through Instagram. You could see our Instagram page, or email us or call us. Now, if you do want to book a 30-minute appointment, feel free to scan this code and it access our calendar. And we love to see how we could be able to assist you and partner with you and, make sure if you're interested and how can we help answer these questions. So thank you again, Stephanie.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Wow, that was very informative. I had a couple questions, but you guys sort of answered it. You guys kept answering my questions every slide. Like one of them was going to be, how do you identify the location? And you guys went over that. And then the other one was going to be systems, right? What do you guys use for automation? So I took a screenshot of that. Those were some of my questions. I know Steph here on the chat, Stephanie had a question, and her question was, how many hours do you dedicate on STRs per property a week or month? And I think that's important to know, like how much time you're spending on this business, right, that you're working on.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. As you're building your systems and, your first property, you're obviously spending a lot more time on it to make sure the automation is working, the price is right. If it's a new property, you're really wanting to stay hovering over those prices and making sure you're really monitoring that. But as the systems start to work and things kind of facilitate themselves, I would say we're spending, about 8 hours max a week on our property. That's just maintaining our cleaning schedule, making sure the cleaners know what's going on. If there's, inventory restocking, or driving to the property to do our weekly walkthroughs, things like that. So that would be, give or take a little bit, not per property, but with what we have right now, kind of what we're managing on a weekly basis.
Sorry, just want to add on to that. So yeah, that's once you have your system in play. Now, getting it set up might take a little bit more time because, again, if you're not in a place to hire someone to set up all the design and the furniture and all that stuff, it just might take a little longer. Something to keep in mind: the upfront setting it up might take a little bit longer than 8 hours. And then once you have your systems in play, the goal is always to reduce it and leverage out and let it be running itself. But again, monitoring it as you go.
Yeah, the quicker you can get it set up and going, the better. So the more time you can spend in the initial setup before it goes live, the better, right? We took a month to set up our first one, and that was us there every day cleaning and building furniture and putting it in.
That was our very first
our very first one.
That was a lot of time, I'm sure, up front, right?
Yeah,
trying to figure it out.
A lot of time investment. Our second one, we got it up in 2 weeks with different strategies and different ways that we leveraged that time to consolidate, and by doing that, we were able to start making money off of it, things like that.
Yeah, I think it's a great model. I think this was a very informative one. Although I will disclose that here in Orange County, we can't really do short-term rental, right? So that was going to be another one of my questions. For people who want to implement this model, but can't do anything under 30 days, I know that we talked offline and you guys were sharing that there's maybe 2 properties. Is that right, Mario? That you guys are going to pivot to and maybe do midterm rental. And that's something that we're going to talk about next month, because I think that one will pertain to Orange County. But we work with a lot of landlords that are out of state. So I think it's very important to kind of know what the rules and regulations are in your local municipality. But do you guys want to touch a little bit on the midterm rental and like what you guys are doing as far as pivoting to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of them, Stephanie was sharing that we have to pivot is because, and I know we did touch base on this in the presentation. It depends also, like not all HOA. So one of our properties is in an HOA. So it's a condo that we rent out. It didn't have any short-term rental in the HOA disclosures. So there's always, and that was our, very first one. So we went in knowing that, okay, if it were to switch and HOA ends up putting something, there, then we always looked at midterm rentals being our next option, because it's in the South Bay and it's located near hospitals and a lot of clinics. So there's a big health department industry in that area. So we knew that in case that were to fall through, we'll look into midterm rentals and subleasing it to traveling nurses, to professionals. And that's where we're pivoting on that one, and also on the Long Beach property. Again, because because we partnered up with the homeowner, and there was some personal things that they had to leave, and instead of them losing the property, they came to us and we were helping them. We helped them set it up basically. And so that one we're pivoting also to a midterm rental, again, because they're more than 30 days. So they're not technically long-term, but they're past the 30-day threshold. So they're considered, according to cities and all that, they're considered a long-term tenants, but you're only providing the space for a midterm time.
Midterm rental. Yeah. I find that we get a lot of questions on midterm rentals. I don't know if you guys have also seen an increase as you're talking to a lot of people in short term. Are you getting more questions asked about midterm? I feel like it's becoming more popular, right?
Yeah, it's definitely becoming more popular because, again, it's a creative alternative, right? Especially in California too, with the tenant laws and all those things. And we're just coming out of COVID and horror stories about tenants. And there are great tenants out there, but they're the sour apples, ruin everybody. And so there are a lot more questions about that. But the great thing about midterm rental is, there's a couple models you can do. You can do unfurnished if it's, if it works, but you can also furnish it. And that's mostly what the midterm rental sphere is furnished stays, which then you again have a higher rental value, and you can find that cash flow in that offset to kind of capitalize on your initial investments and leveraging it to the best of its ability in the midterm space.
And just to revise what I said, our Long Beach rental actually just started midterm. We actually host our first midterm rental guests.
Oh, nice.
So it's doing, so far we're going to see how it's going to do, and we have to start that for next month as well. So
we'll have to do a follow-up on that to see how it's performing. We had the owner of our company, Brian, he also did a midterm rental in Long Beach, and we're going to be sharing what his journey is looking like so far. And so far it's very good, very competitive, and there's definitely a market out there for it. So that's why we're also pivoting and adding that as a service service. I think Kyle has a question as well. Thanks for joining, Kyle. Kyle's one of the owners as well at TrueDoor.
Thank you, Mario and Angela, for the presentation. Really great. Appreciate it. Just had a few questions about like how you guys like to do the furnishings. Do you guys have like a method of furnishing? I know you guys are coming from the design place, which is really great advantage. Or like what's your process for furnishing, and how much money do you like to spend per room, or what does that model look like?
First off, she's the creative genius. I'm more a guy who puts things together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really dependent on, what level of property you have. If it's a luxury property, if it's a condo, like a couple of ours are, and really how you're going to strategize with that. But we essentially, because we have the design background and things like that, we focus more on maybe not necessarily what brands we're purchasing from, but the quality of furniture that we're getting and the quality of linens and things like that. So looking into the specs to know if it's made of wood or if it's MDF, or, so we can gauge the longevity of our furniture, because it turns into much more of a commercial approach to making sure your furnishings and your fabrics, they're going to last a long time. You have a lot of different people coming and going. So that's kind of when we look at furnishing, we're looking at more of the attributes and the spec that we're bringing in, and also obviously at the price point. So I believe we gauge about $1,500 a room if you want to put a number on it. Obviously it gives and takes depending on the room and the bath and all that kind of stuff. But we, our first property, we got up and running just by furnishing linens, security measures and things like that for about $8,000. And that was a 2-bed, 2.5 bath condo. Our other property is quite larger. It's a 4-bed, 3-bath triplex. It's one of the units inside of a triplex. And that took about, it took about like 15 to 20,000 to furnish that. So, double what our original was for our first property. It took about double to do that. So that's kind of where our numbers are falling. But we're leveraging things, sales, and with our design trade accounts and stuff, we get some deals on that end too. So partnering with a professional on the design side can really help leverage and maximize your budgets.
And to add, once you set up your first one, the second one gets easier, because then you could use some of the same furniture that you like, that is good quality, and implement it onto the next one. So that's something, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel again on every property.
Yeah, that's smart. I think it's, again, creating that same system and process. I think I was on Instagram watching like somebody who does similar model as you guys, but they were doing like boutique hotels, and they even had it where they were budgeting for linens, right? Because there was like so many linens, and just getting better quality linens for a lot of the guests that are coming in and out. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Just better quality overall, right? Better quality furniture will attract better quality guests, which will just everything, the entire experience is better quality overall.
Yeah, and then the longevity of it too.
The longevity, yeah.
You spend, maybe there's something that's, for just an example is, $250, and it looks exactly the same as something that's, $375, but the spec on it is the $375 one is going to last you, maybe another year or two, as opposed to the $250 one. So when you determine that too, and with the linens, you get a higher quality linen, it's going to last a lot longer than kind of the lower end linens that look more desirable because they're on a cheaper end. Also, when it comes to the kind of building an inventory, you always have to buy double, if not triple, right? We try to have triple, like 3 times the linens for all of our properties. So we have three linens for each bed. And that's so we have one on the bed for the guest that's coming. We have a clean linen in the closet for when the cleaners are there and they can rotate out. And then we have the dirty linen that needs to get cleaned, right? That gives us time that if something gets stained or a stain isn't coming off, we can take it home and do more of a treatment on it. It's not always having to be turned over and ready for the next guest. So that also increases your budget too, because you're buying multiple multiples at this point. It's not just one sheet for each bed. It's 3,
multiple for each bed. Yeah, awesome. Do any of you guys have any other questions? I think we have a couple more minutes. Wow, time flew. It's actually just 5 more minutes. We do have a hard stop at 1, but I wanted to just kind of thank you guys once again for sharing a lot of the information. Make sure you guys follow them if you guys want to schedule a 30-minute consultation with us. For those of you who maybe don't want to explore the short-term rental, but you guys are thinking of midterm rental, that's something that we're now offering. We obviously are still offering long-term rental. That's our bread and butter on the residential side and on the multifamily side. And, midterm rental is going to be a very hot topic. We're actually going to be interviewing Brian, who's one of the owners here at TrueDoor, next month. And he's going to share what his midterm rentals, journey has been like in the last, I think, couple of months. Even before that, right? Because he actually built a couple ADUs, and that goes hand in hand with what I specialize in as well. So for now, I mean, if you guys, again, please reach out to Mario and Angela. 1 or 2 more questions we may have time for, but if not, if we don't have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me on the back end, reach out to Mario and Angela, and we will see you guys on the next one, which is going to be somewhere around this same time of the month. Every month, we're bringing on different guests, bringing on different strategies that you guys can implement, and we just really want to simplify it. We're also recording this and we're uploading it on YouTube. So if you guys missed this one, or maybe you want to share it, you guys are going to be more than welcome to share it on YouTube.
Awesome.
And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Steph, for joining us.
Thank you, Stephanie. We really appreciate the time and consideration, and anything we can do to help, just let us know. Give us a call.
Yeah, it was very informative, guys. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys then on the next one. Thank you
Bye.
so much.